The glittering world of international high society has always operated under an invisible yet incredibly strict set of rules where every public appearance is scrutinized down to the absolute finest detail. For centuries, the British monarchy has stood at the absolute pinnacle of this global stage, serving not just as a political or cultural institution, but as a perpetual visual narrative by thousands of flashing cameras and broadcast to billions of screens around the earth. In this unforgiving arena of public perception, where a single misstep or an unfortunate silhouette can instantly become a global headline, the pressure to maintain a flawless image is immense. Every fabric choice, every tailored line, and every subtle coordination of color is analyzed by style critics, historians, and ordinary observers alike, turning the simple act of getting dressed into a high-stakes strategy of soft power and cultural influence. For the longest time, the male members of the royal house were expected to adhere to a rigid, almost predictable formula of traditional uniforms and conservative, old-fashioned tailoring that rarely pushed boundaries or invited genuine admiration from the fast-moving world of contemporary style. They were symbols of stability, frozen in a timeless aesthetic that often felt increasingly distant from the rapidly evolving tastes of the modern public, who demand both authenticity and a certain degree of effortless sophistication from those who occupy the highest echelons of modern society as the institution transitions into a highly competitive digital era. The focus has shifted entirely onto the younger generation of leaders who must somehow bridge the massive gap between ancient tradition and modern relevance. Standing at the absolute center of this cultural evolution is the Prince of Wales, a man whose entire life has been charted by public duty, heavy expectations, and the relentless gaze of the international press. For decades, his presentation was viewed through a lens of safe predictability, often overshadowed by the spectacular, globally celebrated style narratives of the women surrounding him, who traditionally captured the lion's share of public fascination and media accolades. The narrative was simple and deeply established, casting him as the dutiful, conventionally dressed future monarch who played his visual part perfectly without ever truly stealing the spotlight or setting new trends. However, beneath the surface of these routine engagements and official tours, a quiet yet profound transformation has been taking place, challenging everything the public thought they knew about royal presentation and the quiet power of personal evolution. This subtle shift has caught the attention of media strategists and cultural commentators worldwide, signaling that something entirely unprecedented is unfolding within the corridors of the palace, changing the way authority, maturity, and modern masculinity are projected to a global audience that is increasingly difficult to impress before we fully uncover the fascinating mechanics behind this sudden transformation and look closely at the specific rules that are redefining modern aristocratic style. Take a brief moment to join our growing community by subscribing to the channel and turning on all notifications. By becoming a part of our circle, you will ensure that you never miss any of our exclusive, deeply researched investigative breakdowns, high society analyses, and behind-the-scenes look into the dynamic forces shaping the public figures who influence our world today. Your continued support allows us to maintain the highest standards of deep-dive reporting, bringing you the precise context and untold narratives that mainstream media often overlooks. So make sure to hit that subscription button right now as we continue to unravel this captivating story. The importance of understanding these visual shifts cannot be overstated, as they often serve as the primary indicator of how an ancient dynasty intends to project its power, resilience, and connection to the public in an era where traditional deference can no longer be taken for granted by anyone. The true scale of this cultural shift became blindingly obvious during the recent gathering at Royal Ascot. An event that has long served as the absolute ultimate showcase for British high society, elite tailoring and aristocratic tradition. As the aristocracy gathered under the summer sun, a highly anticipated public poll conducted by one of the nation's most prominent media publications produced a set of results that sent genuine shockwaves through the entire landscape of royal commentary. For the first time in modern memory, the traditional hierarchy of public admiration was completely turned on its head, revealing a surprising new favourite who managed to outshine established global-style icons within his own family. This unexpected verdict from the public has ignited an intense nationwide conversation, forcing critics to re-examine the silent, meticulous craftsmanship that goes into building a modern public image. The fascinating details of this poll, along with the specific, highly disciplined principles of presentation that caused such a massive stir among observers, represent a masterclass in visual strategy that is reshaping the boundaries of mature contemporary style, setting a completely new standard that will undoubtedly influence conversations around the globe for years to come. The startling revelation from the Royal Ascot style poll caught almost everyone off guard, establishing that the Prince of Wales had actually secured the second place in the public vote, finishing comfortably ahead of his widely celebrated wife, the Princess of Wales. While the top spot was claimed by the famously elegant Zara Tindall, the true headline that captivated style commentators and media strategists across the nation was William's extraordinary performance in an arena where royal men are historically expected to fade into the background. For generations, the male members of the House of Windsor were viewed as mere elegant backdrops to the vibrant, high-fashion statements of their partners, but this historic poll completely shattered that old dynamic. Across Britain and the wider world, partners of average, ordinary, and sometimes completely hopeless dressers couldn't help but look at the future king with a profound sense of envy, wishing their own middle-aged husbands could master the art of looking so effortlessly put together. There is an undeniable, deeply satisfying security in having a well-turned-out, impeccably dressed man by your side, especially during the hectic summer social season when so many civilian wardrobes begin to completely fall apart under the twin pressures of heat and formality. What makes this transformation so deeply fascinating, and indeed so relevant for the ordinary public, is that the Prince of Wales has not achieved this style victory by adopting wild avant-garde runway trends or wearing unapproachable haute couture. Instead, when he is out of his formal military uniforms, his wardrobe is fundamentally constructed from the exact same classic pieces that occupy the closets of the average middle-class 40 or 50-something man. The crucial difference is that he looks 100% better in his clothes, having systematically perfected the mature man's go-to look through a series of highly disciplined, easily replicable principles that separate the sharp from the sloppy. To understand how he pulled off this remarkable visual feat, one must look past the obvious advantage of having access to vast financial resources and focus instead on the absolute reality that the devil is entirely in the detail. The first and most critical pillar of his modern style strategy centers on the uncompromising principle of proportion, structure, and flawless tailoring, which remains the single most powerful tool for any maturing man. A well-fitted jacket or coat possesses the magical ability to give any gentleman immediate stature, neatly disguise an emerging tummy, create the visual illusion of a long, lean leg, and build a strong, authoritative shoulder line, while poor tailoring actively does the exact opposite. When a jacket is cut too tight across the thighs, restricted in the shoulders, or tailored too short in the body, so that it flares out like a strange peplum at the back rather than neatly covering the behind, It immediately transforms the wearer into an awkward caricature resembling a movie henchman. Trousers present an equally treacherous minefield for the average British male, who frequently oscillates between two disastrous extremes that ruin their entire silhouette. On one hand, trousers that are tailored too long puddle heavily over the laces, creating a messy, deflated look that makes it appear as though the man has borrowed his outfit from a nightclub bouncer. On the other hand, trousers cut too short leave the ankles awkwardly exposed, making the wearer look like a schoolboy whose mother is stubbornly waiting for him to grow another inch before she finally invests in an upsizing of his uniform. The Prince of Wales has completely eliminated this common laziness, completely rejecting the classic husband defense that a pooling trouser leg is absolutely fine or can simply be hitched up later in the day. This obsessive dedication to precision and proper fit extends seamlessly from formal morning dress into the much more challenging realm of high summer smart casual wall wear, where so many middle-aged men completely lose their way. For instance, when analysing the casual polo shirts that the prince frequently wears during public sporting events or less formal outdoor engagements, observers note they are never baggy, oversized, or hanging limply off his frame. Furthermore, he completely avoids the incredibly boring default safety option of dark navy blue that so many men cling to, opting instead for sophisticated tones like rich khaki while maintaining a spot-on, tailored fit that flatters his athletic build. His shorts follow an identical, highly disciplined rule, remaining distinctly slimish and cut close to the leg, rather than expanding into giant, unstructured cargo-style variants that bulge with unnecessary pockets and ruin the vertical line of the body. When the weather cools and sweaters become necessary, the prince strictly selects plain, high-quality crewneck designs, often featuring a distinct ribbed texture that prevents the unfortunate clinging that so frequently occurs with a middle-aged man's knitwear, avoiding the accidental public advertising of unwanted physical imperfections. Interestingly, while he does own a few trendy quarter-zip sweaters, he has almost entirely removed them from his public wardrobe in recent years, recognizing a massive problem that plagues households across the nation. Ordinary middle-aged husbands have developed a severe dependency on the quarter-zip, stubbornly refusing to take them off and even attempting to sneak them underneath smart tailored jackets, a styling disaster that utterly destroys any attempt at genuine sophistication beyond the knitwear. The true secret weapon in William's contemporary arsenal is his collection of immaculately fitted outerwear, characterized by clean lines and historical provenance. When he famously graced the cover of GQ magazine, the striking dark blue cashmere Crombie coat he wore was not a temporary stylist loan, but his very own personal piece from the legendary British fashion house Alexander McQueen, highlighting his deep appreciation for structured luxury. Underneath these tailored blazers and coats, he consistently favors a crisp, perfectly pressed shirt, but the execution of this classic look relies on three non-negotiable structural rules that keep him looking youthful and sharp. His shirts are never found billowing loosely around the waist, like an untamed sail. They are never stretched uncomfortably tight across his chest, and they are absolutely never made from cheap see-through fabrics that compromise his dignity. Crucially, he always practices the strict two bructors undone rule when wearing a collar without a tie, which means exactly what it says, with one of those naturally being the top button itself. This creates an open, relaxed, yet thoroughly professional neckline that projects modern confidence without crossing the line into vulgarity. This stands in stark, painful contrast to the average middle-aged husband who tends to completely wing it during the hot summer months, recklessly unbuttoning 3 or 4 buttons the moment they feel warm, which instantly causes them to look like an aging continental politician on vacation rather than a refined modern gentleman. Every element of this wardrobe is designed to project a specific image of controlled, effortless elevation, proving that maturity does not require a surrender to the predictable traps of midlife dressing, but rather a doubling down on quality, fit, and the subtle power of meticulous grooming. The meticulous evolution of the Prince of Wales's wardrobe reveals a deeper, highly strategic understanding of how a modern gentleman must navigate the delicate boundary between looking relatable and maintaining an appropriate sense of occasion. While he may occasionally own a practical green shuffle Gillette, which he casually throws on to walk the family dog in the privacy of the countryside, you will almost never see him wearing it out and about during public engagements. He recognizes that the classic fleece Gillette has unfortunately become the ultimate international symbol of a middle-aged man who has essentially given up on personal style, surrendering entirely to comfort over presentation. Instead of falling into this trap, William has successfully taken a fairly conventional, highly traditional British wardrobe and made the conscious effort to dramatically glam it up for the modern era. He has systematically rejected the old-fashioned, overly stuffy establishment elements that made previous generations of royals look entirely unapproachable, completely weeding out heavy, double-breasted dinner jackets that add unnecessary bulk to a tall frame. Simultaneously, he has ruthlessly eliminated what stylists commonly refer to as the sad dad parts of a wardrobe, entirely banning soggy, ill-fitting jeans, ugly orthopedic sports trainers, and shapeless fleeces from his public appearances. In their place, he has injected some straight-up contemporary sex appeal, a bold visual transformation that began years ago when he famously wore an incredibly sharp, skinny, black turtleneck underneath a luxurious bottle green velvet tuxedo at the Global Earthshot Prize Awards ceremony, drawing immediate comparisons to James Bond. He has since made a distinct point of swapping out his standard issue black tuxedos for midnight blue velvet, and for this year's high-profile BAFTAs, he turned heads globally by opting for a stunning, dark burgundy velvet jacket, proving to middle-aged husbands everywhere that 20% genuine glamour successfully cancels out 80% dowdy. This sophisticated mastery of visual presentation is further amplified by his highly calculated approach to colour, a design element where average British men are notoriously slow to discover the actual point. Too often, when ordinary men finally reach their 50s, they suddenly go wild in an attempt to look youthful, purchasing ridiculous bright red trousers, loud multicolored party shirts, and insisting on wearing an indigo block print scarf all year round, regardless of the setting. The Prince of Wales, by absolute contrast, intimately knows his personal colour palette and runs with it, utilising shades that naturally complement his features rather than fighting against them. It is highly possible that he secured the massive Ascot-style vote on the absolute basis of that immaculate sky blue shirt, featuring a contrasting white collar, a sophisticated choice that demonstrated he is fully aware he really suits the entire spectrum of blue. This deliberate colour coordination is backed by a quiet, highly effective dedication to modern grooming, a word that historically strikes absolute fear into the hearts of ordinary middle-aged men across the land, who instantly assume you are going to force them into a chemical face mask or ask them to wear heavy eyeliner. For the modern man, true grooming requires absolutely nothing of the sort, as evidenced by how William handles his presentation with simple, dignified consistency. One major reason he looks so incredibly good in his clothes is that he is naturally tall and maintains an active level of physical fitness. But he also works hard on the basics by standing up straight with excellent, authoritative posture. Furthermore, he always wears a proper leather belt to keep up his trousers whenever the outfit requires it, completely eliminating the deeply unfortunate public sight of a builder's crease every single time a husband bends down to look for something in the kitchen fridge. while he admittedly does not have much in the way of hair these days, having embraced his natural hair loss with complete dignity. He is incredibly disciplined about his facial hair, never allowing his beard stubble to look like an unkempt extension of the hair on his head, ensuring both are neatly maintained by professionals. He understands that the magic of modern style lies in the tiny tactical adjustments, such as pushing up the sleeves of his casual linen shirts rather than rolling them into thick, bulky cuffs, or, God forbid, wearing an actual short-sleeved dress shirt, a catastrophic design choice that makes almost all middle-aged men look like retired commercial pilots on holiday. He wears elegant belts with a sharp blazer and tailored chinos, but he absolutely never wears a belt with a high-end suit, because doing so would completely ruin the continuous, long vertical line of the tailoring. His accessories are equally controlled, favoring slim ties with narrow, precise knots and slim-cut chinos that entirely avoid the outdated front pleats that make it look as if you have trapped a pocket of air in your groin area. As a direct result of these subtle choices, he consistently looks lean, energetic, and thoroughly youthful, rather than appearing puffy, dated, and old before his time. This discipline extends all the way down to his footwear, an area where the vast majority of ordinary men make their most unforgivable stylistic errors by favoring old, squashed black mesh running trainers for every single casual activity, before abruptly switching to a heavy, clunky Chelsea boot when they need to look smart. The Prince of Wales has completely revolutionized his footwear strategy, making eco-conscious, plain leather trainers with contrasting, crisp white soles his absolute, smart casual go-to for modern events. When the occasion demands formal wear, he chooses classic black Oxford lace-ups with his suits and occasionally integrates a beautifully structured desert boot for outdoor transitions, ensuring he never wears the exact same shoe for every single occasion, regardless of the weather. This unwavering attention to detail explains why the Prince of Wales looks so exceptionally good in casual denim, strictly selecting jeans that are dark, structurally crisp, and tailored perfectly, possessing a refined quality that suggests they could be highly expensive, possibly premium Japanese denim. The overarching lesson here for the rest of the world's middle-aged population is that he absolutely does not do off-duty untidy, completely rejecting the saggy, worn-all-week look that so many husbands use with the excuse that it will do for another day. He knows better, balancing his immense responsibilities as the future king with a modern cultural role that is quietly leading the way for millions of men who mistakenly believe a fleece